Hey, good morning and good now, everybody. Welcome to the Rise Up Morning Show, and we have got a great show for you today. I'm just sending in Alex a behind the scenes message. Ooh, behind the scenes. Don't you just love it? We got a great show. I can't wait for you to see it. We've got an interview coming up today, confirmed with Kevin and JP of Arcade. Games.gg. If you want to do your homework, you want to play along, check it out with us. They're an awesome platform that facilitates a lot of cool Web3 gaming activity. What the heck even is Web3 gaming? What is blockchain gaming? What is blockchain? What's crypto going to do for gaming? If you don't know the answer to that, don't worry, you're early. But I'm so glad you're here because we talk about it all the time, the exciting benefits that ownership will bring to players of the games that they love. For the very first time, this has never happened in history. It's unprecedented technology. We've never been able to do this. And frankly, I'm excited to just get out of the way. Let Kevin and JP talk more about what it is they're doing, what it is they hope to do, and how we can apply that kind of model across industries to give everyday people more power, more agency, more say, and encourage them to coordinate, to collaborate with each other instead of the model we have now, which kind of keeps people siloed, which mostly fuels the interests of the mega corporations that facilitate the gaming marketplace. And of course, if you watch the show, you know that Alex, he's no slouch gamer. I like to game too sometimes, but he's the guy, whether you're talking tabletop or console, and is the lead developer of our game, Shades of Sin. I say our game, but you might ask, are you talking about Shades of Sin? Are you talking about Syndicate games? Listen, it's all a great story evolving over time, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, then just stay tuned. Again, my name is Evan. Alex will be joining us momentarily. I think that's him right here. And we are here every Monday through Thursday to do Q&A with you, to chop it up with each other, to generally have a good time while we learn to stay safe and navigate the exciting Wild West space that is Web3, the blockchain. Thank you for being here with us. And thank you, Alex. Good to see you, my brother. How are you doing?
Good. I'm here, finally.
Good. Here, finally. Hey, if you are just seeing us for the first time, I want to invite you to follow along on our channels if you're curious about cryptocurrency, and especially Alex, because let me tell you what, he's been cranking out some great videos lately, answering in the most helpful way I know what this stuff is and why it matters. So good job, dude. Give this man a watch if that's something you're into. Let me know if you're joining us for the first time. Where you stand on cryptocurrency. Do you hold any cryptocurrency? Do you know what cryptocurrency is? Do you think it's just a fad? Do you believe it's here for the long term? And if you have questions about it, then let us know that too. Oh, hey, we got a first timer, Nelly. Welcome, Nelly. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure to have you, and we hope we can be helpful to you. Boy, helpful. I don't know about you, Alex, but that's certainly not a word I would use to describe most of the content I see where people are talking about cryptocurrency on the internet. That's probably one of the last words I would use, frankly.
Yeah.
Oh, look,
Yeah.
there's our friend JP. I bet that's JP with Arcade, right? Awesome,
Sure is.
great. I did a little teaser, but I really wanted to save the introductions for you and defer to you in terms of let's figure out how to get them up here, and then we're going to give you guys a really warm welcome and ask you a lot of questions. This is going to be a great show.
Yeah, no worries. Of course, I have the puppy who's decided she's going to stand directly under me.
Then don't fret about that. While you get that set, let me say to Nelly and anybody else who's watching for the first time, including our friend JP, if you are here for the first time, today's episode is going to be an overview of blockchain gaming through a deep dive of Arcade. It's a platform we've been checking out. We want to learn more about. We think it's going to teach you a lot, but there may be a little bit of inside baseball here, and that's usually not what we do on our show. So if you feel like this might not apply to me, I was kind of curious, but I'm not into gaming or whatever, listen, don't fret. We're here every day, but we also, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our free newsletter. We have got so many resources that go over the 101 most basic understanding of this stuff to help you get up to speed. It's at the link in my bio. the link in Alex's bio, and it's at theriseupmorningshow.com. And if you go to theriseupmorningshow.com, not only can you sign up for our newsletter, which is the briefest once a week bullet points of all the links, tools, and tips from our show, you can find our YouTube channel where all these episodes live. I recommend starting with the Web3 101 series, and where we are starting to populate more resources in a shorter form that do deep dives on specific topics so you can really get up to speed quickly. And finally, the free Discord channel for the Faceless Many. It's a place where everyday people like us will gather together to learn about this technology so we can rise up and write a better future. You can ask us a question without frustrating character limits there. It's all at theriseupmorningshow.com. So thank you for being here. We've got JP. Is Kevin joining with JP? Are you guys in the same location? Are we waiting on Kevin?
We can, if we can bring JP up, we can start there, and I'm not sure.
JP, say something in the chat again. Let me find you. And I will send you an invitation. JP joined. Great. Hang on, JP. Let me see how we can do this. Your residents welcome. Mission pool.
That's
Looks like
one.
you and JP have the same profile picture, so I'm going to see if I can enjoy. Is Mission pool? Hey,
Cool.
JP, how are you?
Hey, am I coming through now? All right.
You're coming through great. Is Mission pool Kevin by any chance?
No, Mission Pool is Josh. That's me. And Kevin, I'm not sure. It's super early for him, so hold on. Let me reposition my phone. It's like 5 in the morning for him, so he may or may not be here, but that's okay. I'm super happy to be here with you guys.
Absolutely,
Sorry about the connection issues. I've actually never done a TikTok live before, so I'm learning on the go. But
there we go.
You know, there's a lot of mysticism about your first time, but we're going to be really gentle, and I think you're going to love it.
Awesome. Yeah. So, however you guys want to run this is fine. I'm super flexible, so just let me know what you need from me.
Hey, yeah. Man. No, I thought that we would give you just a super quick intro, but I'd rather hear from you because you're obviously the expert. And then figure Evan and I have a couple questions that we'll kind of go back and forth with you for. And then as we go through that, we'll hopefully generate some questions from the audience as we kick it. There's nothing really off limits. If there's something, just because I know you guys have the launch coming up and we've got some stuff in flux with the project, if there's a topic that you would rather save for a later date or whatever, just let us know. No worries. And then we'll just kind of go with the flow there.
Cool.
Yeah. Why don't you just take a second then and introduce yourself to our audience and let them know who you are, what you do, and we can get into the conversation.
Awesome. Yeah. So nice to meet you all. My name is Josh, but I go by JP. I am CEO and one of the founders of a GameFi exposure platform called Arcade. And my background is really in business development, project management. I've had a few smaller startups that I sold off or exited over the years, a little over a decade of experience in the traditional finance markets. And in 2015, 2016, I got really involved with crypto. And around 2020, that's when NFTs really started to pop off. And it became clear to me that an obvious use case for NFTs was going to be in gaming. As a gamer my entire life, I knew that people were frustrated with kind of the red tape, as it were, with a lot of the traditional gaming studios. They have you kind of right where they want you. They don't like to share shareholder profits. They want to make you pay for every little microtransaction. They don't want to give you ownership of anything. So it was clear to me at the time that, okay, NFTs and blockchain solves for a lot of this. And so we started to think about how we could further the development of that industry. And that's kind of how Arcade was born. So that's a little bit about me and kind of our come up story. But yeah, happy to dive into, obviously what Arcade is and any other questions.
So one of the reasons that I'm interested in stuff like this is because, like you said, I've been I've been a gamer for as long as I can remember, and I really struggle to find a better marriage of two technologies than gaming and just Web3 in general. The idea of being able to go through your life as a consumer of one of the most popular industries in the world and pay for stuff all the time, constantly. I mean, I
Hmm.
can't even tell you how much money I have spent over the last 25 years playing video games of any kind, and how little I actually have to show for it. Like, I make the joke that I have a couple things that I'm super proud of that I accomplished with some friends, and the only way for me to retain any ownership of it was to keep an old video game console that barely works anymore, just because the data I want is on that hard drive. Will I ever do anything with it? Probably not. But I
Hmm.
wanted to keep the memento, and lugging that ancient PlayStation was the only way I can do it. So already super interested because I'm really sick and tired of buying stuff and not receiving anything in return for it. So, but you guys are not just a video game that sells NFTs to people. So can you kind of break down really quickly just like the
Yeah.
broad overview of what the purpose of your platform is, and specifically, then we can kind of get into how you use Web3 to connect with gamers on a different level.
Yeah. So it's actually a little bit uh, of a um, of a mind game, I guess, of why we're called arcade. I'll just really quickly touch on that because people are always, when they see the light bulb go off, it's always a really fun moment. 'Cause people are like, "Oh, wow, that makes so much sense." But so we're called arcade because we are very similar to what a traditional arcade building would be, right? The traditional arcade building doesn't create the Pac-Man machines. It doesn't, you know, build out the pinballs or whatever, the pinball machines or whatever, the air hockey. They're a place where all of these different other creators are able to distribute their products, right? And so what we've built is very similar. We're not a game developer. We're not the ones actually creating the NFTs. We're creating a platform where people can experience all of these other different games, Illuvium, Star Atlas, dozens of other uh, quality, blockchain infused games in one place. And we even take it a step further by creating some separation between the gameplay and the kind of financial economic upside of what Web3 gaming presents. So kind of part of the challenge that traditional gamers have when onboarding to this space is they're like, okay, I don't want to have to pay $100 for this NFT to get access to the game or whatever. Like, I just want to play the game. Free to play is super popular now. Games can be inexpensive. Now, I guess recently we've seen some larger studios really taking advantage of a $70 price and then also charging microtransactions, but they're getting tons of pushback from the community also on that. But what we've created is a way to kind of solve for two separate problems. On the one hand, we make it possible for gamers to play these Web3 games without having to buy the NFTs. And how that's possible is that Arcade owns the NFTs, or we have a network of angel investors, hedge funds, people that want to buy the NFTs for the investment but don't want to play with it. We partner with those people to make the NFTs available for free for people on the arcade platform. And then on the flip side of that, we have what's called an exposure platform where people that just want the economic exposure to the industry can get that without having to play the game. So for that side, it's people that are too busy to play, not very good at video games, already have a 60-hour per week job, they have a family, they have kids, they don't have 10 hours a week to put into video games, but they don't want to feel like they're missing out on the economic upside that Web3 gaming presents. We solve for that too by giving people a way to get exposure to that in-game economy without having to learn how to play the game, own the NFTs, use the assets. So we're kind of a marriage of these two separate types of people in Web3 gaming, and we're trying to make the experience easier for people to onboard from either side and get the exposure that they're comfortable with.
That was one of the first things that I noticed about it was the idea that there's been a hurdle, right? A hurdle for entry into the sphere of Web3 gaming is requiring a purchase before you can even try the game. And the difference there is that, it's not the most outlandish thing in the world to have to purchase the game before you play it. However, in a world now where there are just like so many things launching, and you really the new approach is to have some sort of free to play version, because we've shifted gameplay model traditionally from purchase a one-time playable thing, play it till you drop, all that kind of stuff. The whole thing is preloaded in there, to this more like live service model. And, live service is, I don't want to call it the standard, but I feel like pretty much everything that's coming out at this point is live service in some capacity. And when you say over inundated with microtransactions, I'm immediately reminded of $75+ mounts in Diablo that are not even remotely close to the only thing that you would have to pay for if you wanted the full experience. So if you were going to make a purchase like that, you would want to actually own something and take away from it. But like you said, perhaps the person who you really want in there playing is not in a financial position to spend, $100 a month to use your platform and get, but that's the person that you want in there as the user, because they're going to make your ecosystem richer. So finding a way to bring those two things together, I really like. And then the other point that I made was allowing someone to experience what a game has to offer without having to feel like they're not able to contribute enough to be there. I've had that a lot in the Destiny ecosystem where, like I am a relatively diehard player. I have way too many hours over the last 10 years in that game. But every now and then, like a week comes up where I can't play, and it just so happens to be a week where there's something important going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just straight up going to miss out. And there's nothing I can do about it. And, none of my years and years of service mean anything in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about the mission pools a little bit, and kind of how they help people who maybe are not the most grindy, or, someone who doesn't have 20 hours a week to sit and play at something, but still wants to experience, what the game has to offer?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think the beauty of the mission pools is that it's essentially what we've done is we've created this instrument where um, you're able to get direct exposure to a specific in-game activity without having to do anything more than just take the arcade token and deposit it into the pool. So these pools, for people that are, I'm trying to also keep it beginner level because I'm not sure how familiar with crypto everyone in the audience is, but in a more kind of basic form, a typical staking contract, like if you were to go to any other DeFi protocol and deposit your tokens into a staking contract and get some kind of percentage return on that. It's a very similar user experience that we've created. We wanted it to feel familiar, where these mission pools are similar to what a staking pool would traditionally be. You take your ARC token, you deposit it into the pool that interests you, right? A mission pool can be any type of in-game activity derived down. So that can be 30 days of harvesting land in Alluvium. It can be owning and operating a tavern in Mirandus or this metaverse game. It can be a ship mission in Star Atlas from one planet to the next planet. It can really be any type of in-game activity. The only kind of qualifier for it is there has to be an in-game reward generated, because that is what goes to rewarding the mission pool, and we'll talk about how that flows here in a second. But there has to be some kind of in-game earning, and that is pretty much it. It can be any duration of time. We can have a 10-minute mission pool. We can have a 1-year mission pool. It can be any game, any blockchain. Really, it's limitless in possibility on that side. And then you're able to go to our platform and look through like a catalog of different activities called mission pools and decide what you want exposure to. Maybe you think the Alluvium land mission is going to generate more rewards than the Star Atlas one, then you would deposit into the Alluvium mission pool, right? And what we find is that it makes it possible, to Alex's point, it makes it possible to get diverse exposure with a smaller amount of initial capital. Because in order to get kind of full optimized exposure to a game, it might take $10,000 to get like full exposure to that game. But because of how our platform is built, you can take $10 and fractionalize your exposure across 10 different mission pools. Yeah, sure, you only have $1 in each one, but you're getting the same exposure, the same reward potential with that $1 as someone with $10,000 because of Arcade already owning the assets. We already have professional gamers playing. Those barriers are knocked down, so you're able to get that exposure without all of the capital investment needed.
JP, really quick, just we have some questions coming in already from the
Yeah.
audience. They're loving this conversation. And I want to welcome anybody who's new to say that we're talking with JP today from Arcade. The topic is blockchain gaming. And if you have a question, I want to invite you to leave it in the comments. One of the questions that we've gotten so far, and you've sort of touched on this, but I think it's a perfect time to elaborate, is can you talk a little more specifically about how you've got developers, right? You've got
Hmm.
players, and you've got people who want to speculate, people who want to invest in this.
Hmm.
Those are three kind of unique journeys that folks can take. What's like the down and dirty, quick and easy? What are the websites they need if they want to do their homework and learn more about how to get started following along while we're having this conversation?
Yeah, so our website is arcade2earn.io. That's arcade, the number two, earn.io. You can actually see these mission pools now. So if you go to our website and then navigate to where it says DApp, then it'll pull up our mission pool platform. You'll be able to see kind of the product and how it's laid out. You'll be able to see some examples of mission pools. Um, I think I actually also saw, I'm kind of watching the comments as I go, as much as possible, but I think games.gg was mentioned at some point. We're actually super close with them, and so we're different types of platforms, but it's a good example of we collaborate with games.gg a lot for educational resources and stuff. Like our DApp will have basically like a hyperlink to resources for certain games that have mission pools. Like we have a very collaborative relationship with a lot of these different titles. But yeah, arcade2earn.io is us. What he's showing on the screen right now is the DApp. You can see the different mission pool activities. I think there's maybe even one or two that's live for deposits at the moment. And so essentially what we're seeing here is an example of what these types of mission pools can be, and then really from there it's limitless potential. It can be any game, any blockchain, any duration of time, uh, and yeah.
So
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
just so on the mission pool, I know obviously there's two sides to the pool, right? You've got to have the people who are interested in stocking the pool, and then you've got the actual, executor who's going to go out and do the thing that the pool is there for. What's the process, or is there a process at this point? I know it's young and early for like applying or onboarding if you are that gamer, the one that has all of the time that would like to, lend their services to executing a mission pool.
Yeah, so there isn't a formal process in place yet, just because we're actually brutally oversubscribed and like people that we've already vetted to be. It's funny, right? Like it's easy to find people that are willing to play games and make money when they know that there's like a structure in place, right? So um,
Go
we
figure.
actually we we actually have to be so part of what we're trying to do and what the confidence we want to instill in like the average user is that these mission pools are being operated by people that are professional gamers. They have experience in the genre. They're going to get, because really part of our value proposition is that by using mission pools, you're essentially going to get, you might get a fractional reward, but you're getting a better percentage reward from that activity because that gamer might just be better than you, right? Like that, I'm not the best gamer on the planet, right? Like if I was going to play Heroes of Mavia as a base builder myself, I might do okay. I might earn a little bit of money. but I might get more money by just depositing it into a Heroes of Mafia mission pool because maybe that gamer is just better than me, right? So um, we have to be super careful in vetting kind of the different players, and we're building in tools to the platform to make this easier, to where there'll be an application process. The profiles actually on our DApp, you'll be able to link your Epic Games history, your Steam history. So we'll be able to see like, okay, does this applicant Alex, he has like 1 million hours in Destiny. Like he's probably pretty good at this type of game, right? So like that'll be part of our review process. Um, but at the moment, the easiest way to kind of get involved and get a head start on that, if you're watching this and you're like, wow, I'm a great gamer, I want to play games and get paid for it without having to buy the NFTs, we're the perfect solution for you. You know, hop in our Discord. That's probably the easiest way to like get it started with the conversation, and that way you'll know whenever we're kind of looking to expand our operators. But yeah, that person is called the mission pool operator, and then the token holder, that the person that has the ARC token that's just depositing into the pool without playing the game. That's the mission pool contributor. Those are the kind of the two pieces.
I have two
Is that-
questions for you. Oh, can I follow up, Alex, just real quick?
Please, go ahead.
Is people who want to see some footage of some of these games that you're partnered with, is the best place to like connect with them in your Discord or through your newsletter at your website?
Yeah, so for people that want to learn about the games themselves, we have this is a little bit of alpha. I don't think it's public yet, but I don't mind. We have what we're calling
Yes.
like the I think it's called the game catalog. It's like maybe the catalog is what we called it. I've only seen it in Sandbox, but it's essentially going to be a resource hub where people will be able to go and see video, pictures, descriptions. You'll be able to sort by genre. You'll be able to do like a bunch of different things. And then what makes it special on our platform is you'll also have a tab that says like potential mission pool activities, right? So like if I go to Alluvium on the catalog, I'll be able to say like, wow, this looks super cool. Like what types of activities are they looking for operators? Shift over to that tab, land harvesting, doing this, doing that, and then someone can say, oh, I think I'd be really good at that, and then apply to be an operator essentially. So that's not live yet. So I would say at the moment, probably joining our, whoa, what just happened there? Probably joining our Discord, because we have resources there. If you type in our community and just say like, hey, I want to learn more about Alluvium, we have like 1 million people that'll send you information on it. So if you're just kind of getting started in this industry and you want to learn more about the games, that's probably the easiest way. But we will have a much more organized catalog with resources on the website soon.
And just to clarify, before I kick it back to Alex, because I know you want to ask a follow-up, and we want to get into the token, which facilitates this. That's what Arcade is really doing, is filling in a gap here that is going to connect with different solutions, the disparate members of this ecosystem, right? It's not necessarily that you guys are developing all these games. You are hosting a place where developers of great games, I mean, I when I'm looking through your website, I'm like, oh, they're hanging out with Shrapnel. Oh, Mavia's here, and all these names that if you're in this space, but also players just like you, investors who might want to speculate on the future of this in ways heretofore impossible, and that's what I'm personally really excited about, is how like most people in the Web3 space, the blockchain space, they launch a token to fundraise something. And then they ask it to do a bunch of stuff in their ecosystem, and they make it do too much. And it looks like your token is kind of the. I'm excited to learn more about it, just because a token can give a tangible form to an intangible thing and solve problems to connect people that right now just really don't have a way to participate and coordinate and cooperate together to benefit.
Yeah. No,
So
that's really well said. It's funny that you catch that angle. I mean, we don't hide it by any means, but developers really love us. People are always like, and we'll get into this a little bit more with the token side, but people look at our tokenomics and they're like, why do game developers like you? Like, it sounds like you're just kind of extracting value from their ecosystem and bringing it to yours, or creating more value for your token, which is good for Arcade token holders. But our answer is always the same. Game developers love us for the reason you described, that we are a marketing tool for them. We're building solutions that make it possible for, if someone comes to our Discord to learn about Alluvium, they learn about Shrapnel because they're joining our community, and now Shrapnel has a new player, right? Or people that engage in our mission pools. They're like, wow, that looks super fun. I think I could do that myself. Let me go buy a plot of land, right? So we're a constant funnel of people um, driving interest from players, from NFT asset owners, from speculators back to the games. And we've actually built advertising tools also into our platform to where advertising that we control, rather not third party advertising, but like you can have a mission pool that's sponsored by crypto.com, right? Or sponsored by Merit Circle or sponsored by this guild or that guild. Because there's going to be a lot of eyes on these different mission pools and the activities and the players and the performance of the gamers in these pools. So it really is like this central hub that we're building for blockchain gaming, where whether you're a speculator, a gamer, a developer, like we're building a path for you to get value out of our platform.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I think I remember trying to remember a couple of the other things that. So Evan, real quick, I think that Kevin made it.
I saw that was Kevin, and I just sent him a message.
Okay.
And if you'd like, Kevin, I'll pop you an invite. I hope you've got your beautiful morning face on, and if you don't have to come on camera.
No, you do. Put it out there.
I don't know that I can invite Kevin. I think there is I'm so sad to say, I think there's a 200 follower threshold to join the panel as a guest. So let me see what I can find as a workaround. But please feel free to be active in the chat. And until
Kevin, you gotta up your TikTok game, bro.
Yeah, Kevin, come on, man.
Okay, I've got Kevin on Telegram right here. So Kevin, we can do if you are limited by the tiny character size that you can use in a TikTok comment, throw some stuff over here, and I will happily relay to the people.
Yeah, he's gonna make you his
like
sock puppet. He'll be like, and Kevin says, one of these.
Well, and Evan had the great idea not too long ago to start a TikTok profile that guests can use, and we'll get it up to the follower account doing some show stuff, and then we can allow guests to, come on and use that one to jump on the live stream. So this is a perfect indicator, Evan, that I think that is a really good idea. So we'll get to working on that.
Kevin and I are basically the same person, so I can answer.
Nobody's ever seen you in the same room?
No, actually not. So that is a little bit suspicious, but no.
So real quick, because I am excited to get into the token, especially because given how extensively Evan and I talk about tokens, I know that he's going to be interested in the way that you guys are structuring ARC and XARC. But I had an observation and a question for you. So with regards to the pools, obviously you guys are aggregating, a number of games, but you kind of alluded to the idea that, the mission pool operator may be a little bit more of the impetus for your speculation as the contributor, just because they could be phenomenal at whatever it is that they're playing. So am I correct in assuming that theoretically there will be multiple mission pools within the same game, right? Where you could kind of align yourself with different operators? So is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the gamification of our platform is that you will need so we're what's that saying, that it's easy to pick up and do but hard to master?
Easy to play, hard to master.
Easy to play, hard to master. That's very much the journey that we're creating, because it's very easy to get your arcade tokens and just have no idea what you're doing and go and deposit them into mission pools and get some type of reward back. The people that get the most rewards are going to be the people that understand who the operators are, understand the types of activities, understand how much potential there is in these different activities, because there will be some pitfalls where, and we've even done it some with our testing. So like we're live in like a private alpha testing at the moment, but we've even played around with this a little bit, where we'll put up one mission pool that's deceivingly attractive, but we know like we are manually lowering the reward for it, just to see, okay, will people still deposit into that? Are they paying attention to the types of rewards that are coming out of these mission pools, right? And we found that people are, there are people that are still depositing into a mission pool, that there might be two mission pools side by side. One of them has a clear, a shorter time frame and a higher reward, and people will still deposit into the longer time frame, lower reward one. And that tells us, okay, I mean, there's obviously some people that are paying attention, some people that aren't, but the people that to your point directly, there could be a Star Atlas mission pool for the same exact activity with two different operators, and you'll need to make a decision. Do I like the operator from Merit Circle, or do I like the Merit Circle's like a game guild? Do we like the operator from this game guild, or do we like the operator from this other game guild more? And part of your research as a user, you'll be able to go into like a profile for those operators and see, okay, this guy succeeded in getting the maximum reward 90% of the time over the past however amount of period of time, and the other guy has only succeeded 30% of the time, right? So I have a much better chance of getting a reward by going to this operator versus the other one. So if you do that little 5 minutes of research to look into the performance profile of those operators, you'll see that if you don't pay attention, you might just blindly deposit into the one that has a lower reward, and you might end up failing the mission and being like, what happened? And we're going to tell you, this is a gamified platform. It's not just stake into every mission pool. You have to kind of pay attention if you want to get the most rewards. You have to pay attention to the performance of these operators and kind of learn a little bit about the platform economy that we've created, because there is a strategy to how you get the most out of the arcade platform. And this actually is the type of game that a lot of people like to play, right? Yeah. People like to play the strategy game. Right. That's why people are stock traders, right? They get the thrill of trying to figure out what company is going to hit it big next or whatever. Sorry to stop talking and think about you're probably juggling the tiles all over the place.
You're messing up my camera angle, brother.
I know, right? But yeah, I mean, a lot of people, this is their game, right? They want to play the strategy of the economy. They're not big, they're not going to pick up a controller and play, but they'll sit in front of a computer while hanging out with their family, and like they'll get excited about figuring out the strategy on how to maximize your rewards, right? So that's kind of the experience we're trying to build.
The first scenario that jumped out at me, sorry, Evan, when talking about this, was the eventual idea that this sounds to me like such an easy pitch to make to like specific programmers or streamers to become an operator and then run like competitive mission pools side by side with people and like truly pit audiences against each other. If you had, two famous, D2 streamers or two famous, Illuvium streamers or whoever, whatever we evolve into there, and then kind of put them next to each other. I was like, oh, dude, that is such a cool and like the different way to, run like a duel, so to speak, between two different pool operators. So that right there, I thought was cool. And then I think just to kind of wrap up the thing that, side note, because you mentioned it, the phrase "easy to learn, hard to master" is like, I think is so. I mean, it's completely integral to the game that we are creating. That was
like your mantra as a designer.
It really is like that. That's what I want. I want anyone to be able to pick it up and start to play and kind of get involved. But I want you to really have to work if you want to be a master. And we used to use that saying back in the day when I was a snowboard instructor, was that snowboarding was hard to learn, easy to master, and skiing was the opposite. It was easy to learn, hard to master. So just kind of like had it in my head forever. And Mac and I had a business coach mentor once, and we said that phrase to them on a meeting, and they were just like, that's not a real saying. Nobody says that. And I was like, are you out of your mind? Everyone says that. What are you talking about? And it just became this kind of funny moment. Mac and I both looked at each other, and he texted me in the middle of the thing like, all right, I think we're done here. Get here. But just to wrap it up, I think the most exciting part about this whole thing for me is just the idea that no matter what you are able to put into the pot as a gamer, the point of this platform truly, if we strip the whole thing back, is to bring together gamers from every single niche and nook and cranny of the gaming sphere with whatever they're able to contribute, put them all together, and then allow them to reap benefits together collectively as a community, which is really, I mean, what gaming should all be about. It's always better with a group of people. So I thought that was really cool, because it really sucks to be gate kept out of something just because you don't have the time or you don't have the money, but you have the desire to be a player on a platform. So
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Speaking of gatekeeping, I wanted to give our community member friend, your residents, the chance to ask you a quick question. If you have a question and you're somebody in our community, I'm glad to bring you up to the box so you can speak to JP. We have a couple more questions, JP. Don't think you're off the hook. I want to talk about the token and the tokenomics. And if we don't know you, don't take any offense to it. It's not a personal thing. It's just that, we have had things happen on our show that could get us in some trouble. So feel free to leave your question in the comments down below, or if you're on our Discord server, you can't type it all out on TikTok, you just send a little @ to my name in the general chat. We will be good stewards of your time and attention. JP, real quick, do you have a hard stop like at the top of the hour I need to be mindful?
Nope.
Okay,
nope. We're
great.
good, man. Appreciate you asking, though. A lot of people don't.
We're in a conversation with JP. We're talking about Arcade, which, if you want to play along, is arcade2earn.io, bringing together developers, investors, players at all levels of experience to start to enjoy the benefits that blockchain can bring them. Your residents, thanks so much for popping into the show. And I understand you have a question. Go ahead. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Hello, guys. Thanks for inviting me. And hello, JP. So my question is, as a non-gamer, and maybe there are more people here that is non-gamers, so I'm a little bit lost when it comes to gaming. So I just want to ask some basic questions to you, JP. What is the purpose with the NFT? How does that bring any value to the gamer, and also the need of the token?
Yeah, so kind of fundamentally, I think the value proposition for an NFT goes back to having ownership of the digital assets that you purchase. So, like for me, I've probably spent I definitely have spent thousands of dollars on Fortnite skins or Call of Duty skins. These skins are just like aesthetic changes to your weapons or your character, make them look different, right? And traditionally in gaming, when you spend those thousands of dollars, you are never going to see that money again. Like you're paying for an experience, but those aesthetics live on your account, but they're owned by Activision. They're owned by Epic Games or whatever. So what NFTs make possible, and kind of the paradigm shift here, is that an NFT is provably owned by you, right? So when you buy that skin in a game, you're able to own that thing, and if you stop playing the game, you have the option to sell it to the next person, right? So in Fortnite or Call of Duty or any other traditional game, when you purchase that skin, there has always been like black market ways that you can sell an account to try to get money, but developers, like, they're super strict on trying to stop that from happening because they don't want you to be able to resell it. They want the next person to have to go and buy it from them. Um, Whereas with NFTs, if I'm done with the game, I can take that skin and sell it to Alex. Maybe I'll recoup 80% of what I paid for it. Alex is getting something for a little bit cheaper than he could get it from the developer. Um, and so initially, the game developers were super against this, but I think they're starting to come around. They know that it is inevitable, and they're starting to realize that they can earn from the royalties of the trading of that asset, right? So maybe they're not getting the direct sale for the next person, but they might get 5% of all of the secondary market sales that happen with NFTs. And that's kind of how the model stays sustainable for the game developers, is that they're able to make money on the royalties from secondary market. Um, but that's kind of the biggest value proposition. Sorry, I rambled a little bit. Alex or Evan, you might have something to throw in there, since it's a more general question, but that's kind of how I see it, is that ownership.
So is this related to skills in the game that you have achieved and that you can later sell?
I would say potentially, but you could have no skills at the game. I could create an NFT if I wanted to be super inclusive and say, we had one of these in our community for somebody who, I don't remember what it was. They made a wooden spoon award. There was a person who won the tournament or whatever, and they got one award. That was a token. And then someone else got the wooden spoon award for being the worst player. If it exists and you can measure it in the form of like a record proving you did a thing, then a token is a great way to market and give it a tangible form that somebody can flex on their friends, that they can sell and profit from, that they can display. that they can experience the benefits of owning.
And I think, too, an important distinction, your resonance, is just that, dude, that sounds so regal when you address somebody like that and like say them out loud. Big fan.
Yeah, also like moving pieces around your chessboard, I'm like,
Yeah, as you see, I'm into traditional game,
Yeah.
It doesn't get much more traditional than that. But no, and JP, correct me if I'm wrong, but what it sounds like you might be getting at, resonance, is just that arcade itself is not taking a game and then creating the NFTs for them and selling them to people. Arcade is kind of bringing the different types of gamers who might be attracted to the game for whatever reason together and giving them a way that they can sort of interact. But for example, if Illuvium or Heroes of Mavia is the game, they are completely going to handle whatever their token structure is, whatever their NFT offering is. It might be totally different than what Shrapnel is doing. And Arcade is not the platform that's like minting NFTs for people, doing all that sort of stuff. I'm not, I don't know what you guys are going to get into down the line, but at least at this point, that's the point. Is that right? You guys aren't making tokens.
No, we're definitely not. I would say for someone that's not super involved in the industry currently, really we are an on-ramp to GameFi exposure where you can get exposure without having to worry about the NFTs or a million different gaming tokens across a dozen different blockchains. If you look at this idea and you say, I think this is going to make money, or this is an industry that's going to continue to grow, our goal at Arcade is to make it super easy for you to come in and just get exposure to the upside of that industry without having to worry about the NFTs, 10 different gaming tokens. And we'll talk a little bit about the value accrual of the ARC token. But for someone that just wants exposure to the upside growth of the industry, that's really kind of the solution Arcade's providing.
So let me see if I have understood this. So you're saying that you won't issue any tokens. So you are just a platform, the Arcade, that is collaborating with different games, and those games are offering tokens that can be used as a currency to buy NFTs that is collected to that specific game. Is that correct?
Not quite.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's arbitrary.
But,
okay.
Go ahead,
yeah,
JP. You can explain.
No, it's so we're not issuing the NFTs, right? The tokens, basically Arcade's token is a utility token. It's like a intermediary where we take the distribution of rewards and NFTs and stuff from all of these other games, and we convert it back to the ARC utility token, and that is what's distributed as the reward. So basically, we're taking all of those different moving pieces you're describing that the game developer puts out. We bundle it all together, distill it down into the ARC token, and then we give that back to you as a utility token that you can then sell or compound back into a different mission pool or whatever. So we're not actually issuing any of the inflationary reward tokens or NFTs that you're describing. That would be the game developers. We're a protocol layer that benefits from what is already being built by game developers and making it easier for the average person to get exposure to it. We're not actually building those systems from the games.
And can I actually ask you to drill down a little, because we've talked around it a little and you've started to talk about some of the tokenomics at play here, but I'd really like to understand the incentive model better, the different pieces, because some people watching our show, we're starting to get into too much inside baseball for them, and I just want to clarify that we say tokens, non-fungible tokens, they are programmable bits of data that can represent just about anything that is important to you, and they don't have to be monetary, but they can be gamified, structured, so that folks are encouraged to do different kinds of their incentives to help people coordinate at scale. And so can you tell me, because when I go to your site, the first thing I see is that you're having a token sale soon. The second kind of place I go to interact with your token is I see the the model here where we talked about, you've got these mission pools, and you can see like what the task is. Oh, it looks like an Age of Empires kind of game, Alluvium here, land harvesting. That's pretty familiar to me, and it looks like this is the pool of expected rewards when I'll earn them. And it looks like this is the token I'm seeing. It appears to be maybe our arcade token, but it sounds like you mentioned a couple tokens. Can you talk to me about, what tokenomics you have? What are the tokens you're using?
Yeah.
Can I buy them with money? Can I only earn them? Do you have others? What's the supply? Would love to just hear you talk about how you thought about building the incentive, especially if you can do it in a way that somebody who is not prepared to use the word tokenomics would understand.
Yeah, that's the ultimate challenge, right?
Yeah.
So I will be I'll be blunt. I do struggle to explain this even in technical terms because it is kind of a lot to take in. I'm gonna try my best. This is a good exercise for me to try to
Yeah.
explain it in a more basic way because I know I need to get better at doing that anyway. Um, but so we have a to start from the top. We have a two token system. We have the ARC token, that's ARC. That is a token that lives on Ethereum mainnet. That's kind of a main liquidity hub and protocol layer that's tried, tested, proven. So that ARC token lives on Ethereum mainnet. Now, the biggest downside to tokens on Kevin is my cheerleader in the crowd. No, the biggest downside to a token on Ethereum is, as many of you may know, the fees for using the Ethereum network are egregious at times, especially as popularity of the network grows. It can cost $100 to submit a transaction on the Ethereum network. It's crazy. And we knew that going in that for something like so for something that's a protocol that's kind of like you click it once and you're done, you have engaged with that protocol, maybe Ethereum makes sense. The issue that we run into is that there's a lot of different clicks that have to happen on a daily or weekly basis for someone using our platform. They're going in and out of mission pools. Um, it would cost tons of money to build on Ethereum mainnet at that point. So um, we are we're using a two token system, and the reason being that our second token, X Arcade, X Arc, is what we call the platform token. It's the token that you're actually using to go in and out of these mission pools. So
Okay,
that
so when I
token,
see that little logo on your site, that's XArc.
that's X Arc.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please continue. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please feel free at any time. So the X Arc token is that lives on the Avalanche C chain. So now those transactions that cost $100 on Ethereum are costing 5 or 10 cents on Avalanche. So this two token system, we have a bridge and a swap built into our DApp to where when you come in with the ARC token, you click give me X Arcade. It swaps it at a 1-to-1 ratio. So there's always a peg of one X arc equals one arc. You swap, and built into that interaction is a bridge from Ethereum to Avalanche. You end up on the DApp side with XArc in your wallet on Avalanche, and that is what you use to go in and out of these mission pools.
Why not just do one token
So great question.
on Avalanche?
Yep. The reason we didn't do that is because this in-game or this platform economy that we're creating, when you consider how why people buy a token, there's kind of two or three different reasons. One is to use the token as it's intended, the utility value of that token, which would be the people that take the token and use it in mission pools. That would be kind of one demographic or one profile.
Sure.
On the other side, you have market makers, you have exchanges, and then on the third hand, or the third type, would be the people that are just buying it for pure speculation. They're buying it because they want to speculate on the upside value of that token, not to use it in mission pools. So
Right.
the reason that we have this two token system is that all of the speculators and all of the exchanges, the market makers, they all sit in ARC. ARC because they are buying it to speculate, they're buying it to create liquidity, they're buying it for the LP. And anything that's in XArc, that means that you had to take that extra step of bridging it to the platform to use it in mission pools. And now we know that there's a higher probability that XArc users are are there to deposit it into mission pools. Now, this is important because when we're designing the caps for these mission pools, so mission pools aren't unlimited, Phil. When you go to a mission pool, there's a cap of 10,000 tokens or 50,000 tokens. And in order for us to know, should the cap on this mission pool be 10,000 or 50,000, we have to be able to look on chain and say, okay, 20% of the supply is in XArc. We only need to account for that 20%, not the 100% pie where 80% might be speculators. So really, this enables us to more accurately create the barriers and the caps for these mission pools by only needing to account for XArc tokens instead of the entire ARC plus XArc supply. That makes sense?
Yes, but I still have one more question. Just a
Yeah,
quick
go
one,
ahead.
Alex. If it's 1-to-1, it sounds like you're going to have to do a lot of work because you're encouraging people to speculate on the token they can buy. But how, as a gamer or somebody who wants to create a mission pool, as like a more active speculator in the ecosystem,
hmm
how it almost seems like it's going to become prohibitive at some point if the speculators, and I'm sure they will, get a hold of this for me to turn my one token that cost me a lot of money increasing over time into this XArc token that I can use on your platform. It's like today Dave and Buster's cost $10, but tomorrow it costs 100 just to get the same amount of tickets. Does that make sense? It sounds like you might be adjusting this manually, like you're saying, okay, here's the price, here's the balance of tokens, these are the limits in the pools, so that people are encouraged to participate. But that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah, so there definitely is manual work on the back end for us to
Okay.
set the boundaries for these things. In terms of kind of the constant need to if I understood your point correctly, there isn't a constant need to enter into the XArc ecosystem because the rewards that you get from mission pools come back as XArc. So you're not getting the ARC token as a reward and then having to bridge it back over to XArc every single time. Once you enter the ecosystem, if you come in with 10 tokens and you put them into a mission pool and you get 12 tokens back, that comes back on the Avalanche chain. You can read, you know, recontribute or reinvest that token back into new mission pools, and it's a compounding effect. The only time that you realize um, the only time you realize that back as ARC would be when you leave the platform, which is still a 1-to-1 ratio. Um, and the reason that this works on the back end and why it doesn't lose peg, maybe this is kind of part of the equation that's missing currently. The rewards from these mission pools is outside capital coming in from these game economies. So when you earn the Atlas token from Star Atlas, what's actually happening on the back end, now the user on the front end doesn't have to worry about any of this, but what's happening on the back end is we're taking that Atlas token, we're selling it, we're swapping it on the open market to buy ARC, and
Yeah.
then we are bridging and swapping ARC for XARC.
You're
So
creating a liquidity pool essentially.
and the ledger always stays balanced because
Yeah.
we're not just printing XARC out of thin air. We're actually buying the ARC off the open market and doing that same swap interaction. So for the more technical people in here, what's actually happening with the swap is you're taking 10 ARC, you're burning it on chain to mint 10 XARC, and then when you swap back the other way, you're burning 10 XARC to get back 10 ARC. So there's always a balance there, and the reason that the ledger stays balanced is because we're not just taking in the Atlas and in this example Atlas and saying, okay, we're going to keep the Atlas and give you XArc. That would imbalance the ledger. We are actually buying ARC, burning it like anyone else would, then minting that XArc to give it to you. And so that is maybe a key piece of the puzzle there on why. And actually, if we're talking about the Dave and Buster's example, one of the concerns I do have that I'll be open about is that our token is going to get too expensive. Like I actually think that
Yeah.
there might be a supply crunch to where
Yeah, I
people,
was more worried about the entrance, like ARC to XArc once people
yeah,
speculate on it.
Yeah, so I mean, once people speculate on it and the price goes up, the only thing I can say is that we have so the because so this may be getting more into the technical again, but just for those of us that are more familiar with crypto,
Well, and it's an
typically,
important conversation to have. We can
yeah,
always, clean it up.
distill it down. Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So typically a lot of protocols they have like a huge bucket of tokens that they set aside for giving away for free, and that is part of how they can factor in price suppression to keep it attainable for the average user. They say 30% of our supply is set aside for staking rewards. We can account for, or we can project X% of those people are going to take those staking rewards and dump it on the market to suppress the price. This will help us keep it attainable for new people. This is conversations that founders are having when they're building out their tokenomic models. Now, with us, we don't need to have any tokens that are given away for free because we have an economy that's backed by something real. We're not having to what I like to call bribe people to use our protocol by saying, come deposit your tokens here, we'll give you 100% APY. I know that that's kind of a loss leader, right? We're
Yeah.
getting more people in by diluting the supply. We don't need to do that because when you get 10% APY from a mission pool, that's backed by something real. It's not backed by dilution of the token supply. So this exacerbates the issue that we're talking about here because we don't have free tokens diluting the market. That can create that up only feeling of the token getting too expensive for the average person to dabble in. So what we did instead is we set aside tokens in a few different buckets that can be used to sell. So we Arcade can make the decision to sell those tokens to keep the entry level attainable, right? If the price spikes to $10, we would just sell tokens on an OTC basis to one of our investors or partners to gradually dilute the supply while bringing in additional capital that we can use for operations, for expansion, for buying new NFTs, for building out new products in our ecosystem. So it has very sound traditional business things happening behind the scenes here where we will be able to, I don't want to say, I definitely don't want to say manipulate the price because that's
I
not
understand.
what the intention is, but we have some levers we can pull to keep the entry attainable. But I mean, one of the things that keeps me up at night is literally, what if this token has so much upside or like so much up only power that people are like, it's too late for me to like get involved, because we want it to be attainable to the average person. We want someone to feel like they can get they can take $10 and get exposure to 5 or 10 arcade tokens, and it's a meaningful exposure to them. They're not buying point 0.2 ARC token
Mhm.
with $10 or whatever, right? So it's something that's going to take some balancing. There is behind the scenes kind of mechanics built into how we can help keep this ecosystem easy to enter. Um, but
I
hopefully
mean,
that helps shed some light. But it is a concern. I will say that.
so one note from Kevin. He wanted to remind you that there, because of the two token system, and I do remember talking about this with you guys earlier, that you have the ability to add XArc from other blockchains, right? So you could get to a point where you can integrate mission pools hosted on Solana, Polygon, etc. And then the idea, right, that you're getting at here is basically that ideally someone would be able to make an entrance into the XArc ecosystem on platform and stay there, kind of like
Hmm.
existing inside the confines of your ecosystem using XArc without having to worry about trading it on the open market or whatever, and just go from kind of pool to pool to pool, do the thing, and increase your standing there. And then when you're done, take your chips essentially off the table and then cash them back out to the open market, or stay in the arena for as long as they would like to. That is that kind of the idea.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Avalanche is the first. It's the entry point to how you can interact with our DApp. But we have a very multi-chain intention to where, like you said, you'll be able to take your Phantom wallet on Solana if that's the chain that you prefer, and deposit into those same mission pools or specific Solana mission pools as the Avalanche people without ever having to touch the Avalanche blockchain. So this further fractionalizes the XArc in circulation across a multitude of chains. and really makes it easier for people to get the exposure that they want. 'Cause maybe some people just don't like Avalanche for whatever reason. I think it's a great chain, but I mean, we also don't want to tie ourselves to any one ecosystem. We want to make it easy for people to interact from wherever they are.
And I mean, just kind of thinking out loud too. I totally respect that it's a concern that you guys have. One of the things that I personally love seeing, and I think is an integral piece of the puzzle when we're talking about how to incorporate the biggest swath of gamers from the just general gaming community onto a platform like this, would just give them a way to run a mission from your platform as a user and earn XArc in return for just being a really valuable member of your community, being a really valuable metric. So theoretically, you could have that guy who's in your Discord that is just constantly answering people's questions and helping people out, whatever, have some sort of a mechanism by which they can earn XArc to use on the platform, because, logic would say that, hey, this dude who's in here just killing it with the questions and helping people out and, making suggestions, doing whatever is the valuable community members do. Clearly they want to be involved. So I bet you if we gave this guy some XArc, they would probably throw it into a mission pool. And then kind of, help kind of churn the economy from the inside there, and alleviate, like you said, that stress of, we obviously don't want the token to do anything but bring value to our speculators and our investors on the outside of the platform, but we don't want to prohibit the gamers who are here that are going to be the reason the platform has value in the first place from being able to participate.
Yeah, so that boils down to kind of opening the floodgates, as it were, to allow anyone to come and be a mission pool operator. There's really
Right.
a couple key barriers. The first of which is security. So NFT gaming is, blockchain gaming is still very early. There are a lot of really quality games, but not all of them have built solutions for how you can delegate access to an NFT without uh, releasing custody of it, right? So when Arcade has a $100,000 ship in Star Atlas, we have to have a secure way for that player a trustless way for that player to operate that asset in a mission pool without taking custody of a $100,000 ship, because we may never hear from that person again, right? So so the games are building some solutions for this. We, Arcade, are building our own proprietary wallet solution that's going to make it easy for games to integrate in and help our mission of getting this more scalable. But for the time being, that's why it's a little bit more of a manual process of having to vet these mission pool operators, because it's kind of a very it's a marriage between Web3 and more traditional Web2 principles. We have to KYC you. There's a contract involved sometimes, right? Because it is a real world asset assignment, essentially, whenever you're operating an NFT that's worth tens of thousands of dollars. So even NFTs that are worth smaller amounts of money, the same principles apply. So we're building those solutions, but that's the main reason. So to your point, that is the future. That's the vision for what we're creating. Is you'll be able to land on our platform and get started as a nobody operating a mission pool with an NFT and prove yourself, right? Because you could be someone with no reputation, but you could come in and outperform professional gamers, and now suddenly you're in the spotlight, right? And all of the esports teams and game guilds and stuff are like, wow, who's this random person I've never heard of? He's beating our esports players. Like, let's talk to him, right? So it becomes a way for you to prove yourself as a gamer, to get compensated while doing so. But what we're describing here is a little bit further out.
Can I ask you a question about incentives on that topic?
Mm-hmm.
I heard play to earn gaming described. I don't remember who said this, but it's just like easy to play, hard to master, as the treadmill that makes you fatter. And I'm curious what you think about when there is like a cash incentive at some level, or even a non-cash value incentive, that designers, players, investors, the mission pool operators are going to align around earning tokens, to sell for money. We've talked about how you're going to mitigate like the supply problems like that, liquidity. But do you think it's likely or possible that platforms like this, incentives like this, it seems to me that there is a trend where they encourage this kind of movement of the spectrum toward a grinding away from wandering in a game, for example, because that's not as profitable as um, build the biggest farm, spend the most time, harvest the most stuff, earn the most money. Like
Hmm.
if that's what the tools we have to communicate about value are on our platform, naturally over time, people will tend towards things that harvest that kind of value or build it up bigger. And so I'm curious, how maybe you're thinking about that. I,
Yeah.
I know games are really responsible for like the kind of tokens that they offer, and the pool operators are the people who are going to set the incentives. And it might be um, that there are appeasing incentives on the other side. For example, I could imagine that there might be a really great opportunity for a mission pool operator to fund a mission pool to find the rarest random item. I don't know, like the equivalent of catching Mew in Pokemon Red and Blue. Like you
Hmm.
got to do it with a Game Shark. But what if it was a 1 in 1 million chance? Not very profitable, but probably very fun, and a lot of people would do it. But how are you thinking about that?
Yeah.
How are you thinking about
So
keeping it from becoming a treadmill that makes people fatter?
yeah, the it's really an interesting point because part of so we're kind of there's parts of this that we're leaning into, and the I think the idea that it can be grindy. So if I understand correctly, the idea that you see these game loops on the arcade platform, you're like, okay, this makes the most money. Like this is the only thing I'm going to focus on. That for certain gamers might make sense. Maybe they are doing this as a job. Maybe they're doing it because they need to make the most money and that's important to them. But I think what it enables not only mission pool operators, but more importantly, mission pool contributors, the token holders to do, is it makes it possible to get exposure to the grinding without having to do the grinding. So you can spend your time doing the things that you love. So if it were me and I'm a mission pool contributor, I have 10 ARC tokens and or XARC tokens or whatever, and I want to get exposure. So I identify that in Heroes of Mavia, there's a very grindy way that I can get the most rewards. I don't want to do the grinding myself. I want to play Zero Dawn Horizon or Horizon Zero Dawn. I want to play Call of Duty. I want to play Atomic Heart. Like I have single player games with no reward that I want to spend my time playing. I can deposit my tokens into the mission pool for Mavia, get exposure to the grinder's rewards without having to actually do the grinding. So it makes it possible for me as a gamer to essentially outsource the grindy parts of the industry to people that are willing to do those things because maybe that's how they feed their family or that's just what they enjoy doing. I know there's some people that are so competitive that they enjoy just doing the grindy game loops in certain games. Now, that's not necessarily me. I like to look at gaming as a way to relax, to do my own thing, to kind of, get away from it all for a little bit. And mission pools make it possible for me to do more of that because of how easy it is to take the XARC token and put those tokens into the efforts of a grinder, essentially. Um,
I guess what I worry about,
yeah.
I'm sorry to cut you off, is just
No,
that
you're good.
often those kind of business models tend to leverage people who don't have as much freedom to choose. They become the expense. They become the sweatshop of gamers in Bangladesh
Hmm.
who are earning $10 an hour because now they're rich. But while it's better than digging a ditch, nobody would want to not have the freedom to choose. And the
Yeah,
incentive model, while it's not evil, I'm not picking on you or making a judgment.
yeah,
I do feel that what we have seen is that it encourages that kind of extractive thing. You don't have time to do
yeah.
this? Hire a virtual assistant in India. You don't want to, screen print your
Hmm.
expensive T-shirts? Buy the cotton from Bangladesh, kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. No,
you
I,
know.
I, I, I
So I'm
totally
just
get
curious how
that.
you think about that because I think it's a real
Yeah,
concern.
yeah. No, I mean, I think that is. I think you're making a good point. I would say how we would address it is so gamers always have a on our platform. The mission pool operators always have a choice in what type of activity they want to do. You could be a mission pool operator that does something that's not profitable and still have a mission pool for it. Whether or not the average person is going to deposit tokens into that activity, if they don't see it as the meta activity at the time, is probably where there could be some deviance in terms of how how much attention is this going to get, right? Because I do think you fall into I see this kind of as, so this is obviously a very direct problem that scholars in general in Web3 gaming presented, to where you were, like the Axie model, delegating out tons of different things to people that can't really afford to have options. The mission pool model, I think, makes it possible for these gamers to have more choice than the scholar model, because they're not having to follow it an exact blueprint like they are with scholars, or with the scholar model.
I'm sorry, what's the scholar model? Did I miss it?
So yeah, so we saw this a lot with Axie Infinity back in like the early 2020, 2021. The it essentially turns into that sweatshop feeling where guilds are recruiting tons of people to play with their NFT assets, but giving them very strict guidelines on how they do that thing. So it's very mechanical. They're taking an asset, they're spending 8 hours doing this specific thing with it, and then they're getting a piece of that reward, basically, as their compensation for it. So that is, in my mind, a very direct comparison to like a sweatshop model that we're describing here. And I think what makes us a little bit different is that once you get that asset as a mission pool operator, you have the right to use it really however you want to within that activity. If you decide that you want to do it a different way, or you want to explore the game in a different way that day, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. You're not following a set of rules or regulations like you would if someone was hovering over your shoulder telling you which buttons to press at which time. You really have a little bit more agency to take that asset and explore the game the way that you want to enjoy it. You just might not make as many rewards from that activity, and then next time people might not deposit as many tokens into it because they're not getting as much return. So it is a little bit of a vicious cycle, and certainly something we should keep an eye on. But I would say we want to make it as fair as possible, and the gamers are always going to have that ultimate choice and say in what they do. And I think that's probably the most,
which is a much better alternative than the way we do things now. We're moving the needle at the very least into the conversation of how can you, the player, the investor, help design the incentives. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for entertaining my side quest.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry guys, it was a boring rabbit hole, but
it's fine. It's a valid concern. I mean, as Evan and I have been around the space, we've seen it more than once. I mean, dude, we were standing at a conference when a guy literally came up to us and pitched me on investing.
I was hoping you would tell the story.
He literally came up and with a straight face, he pitched at me investing in his actual sweatshop. And I just looked at him, I was like, you understand what you're asking people to invest in, right? Like this is horrible. I'm so uninterested that I'm considering reporting you to the authorities. This is
I was gonna kind of have a good cop, bad cop report, because I was like, brother, I don't think that's a great idea. And Alex was like, no, this is straight up slavery. Why would you do? He was like ready to beat this guy up.
But on the other hand, right, like what the thing that Axie offered was the ability for someone to take an option to do something else, right? And it's kind of in the nature of a decentralized, or at least semi-decentralized, autonomous, community organization, where at some point you can't control everything, right? But you can take steps as the platform, like you said, to make sure that mission pool operators get to pick what they're going to open a pool for, or stop being a pool operator after running one if for whatever reason they didn't want to do it anymore, or you can only take it so far. But I think the trick just comes down to, we love to talk about the back and forth on this show about, chasing decentralization and finding, like censorship and moderation light ecosystems where we can, express ourselves and be ourselves and do the Web3 thing. But at some point, like I always like to give the example, you want decentralized Twitter, but you don't want NAMBLA to show up. You got to do something at some point to prevent that kind of, nefarious use of our platform from happening. But I think it sounds like you just got to keep an eye on it and
Yeah.
be fluid.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
want people to have that password reset too. Own your keys, but also what happens if that's not how you're going to
Yeah.
onboard a billion users is have fun staying poor.
Yeah.
So, JP, I'm wondering just because now that we've kind of covered the token a little bit here, and we're getting into it. Obviously, you guys have a token launch coming up. Evan and I are brutally honest about how token launches go. Anyone who's been in and around the space before has seen probably a token launch that they're not in the pre-sale for. And when the thing first comes to public availability, we typically see the same price model happen where we get a big run up. The people who have pre-sale access are given an allocation of the percentage that they've invested. You can expect crazy volatility on launch. So we wouldn't be doing the audience justice if we didn't say, pay attention, watch the launch. It's coming up, and JP, I'll kick it to you to kind of talk about your token launch and all that good stuff. But just know that public launches of tokens are hyper volatile times inside the crypto space, and it is as risky as a token could be in the broad scheme of things. It is more risky by tenfold to try to time, dips and swings and spikes and crashes at the launch. We like to say, give things a minute to breathe and pay attention to the ones that you're the most interested in. But minute one might not be the best time for everyone to make a jump.
That's great advice. I certainly would not recommend otherwise. So there will be the people that are crazy that that'll buy on minute one because we have a lot of momentum currently, but I would not recommend that to the average person because it is incredibly volatile. So yeah, we have our sale coming up. We're doing our first launch pad on Game Starter on April 2nd. So what is that? 5 days away. So we're about 5 days from our first launch. We're using 3 different launch pads. So if you're watching this and you want to get involved with the public launch, like at the sale price for the launch pads, um, I think you would need to have access to one of these 3 launch pads. But it's Game Starter, Chain GPT, and Seedify. After that, we have an exchange that we're listing on. I can't tell you who it is yet because they have to announce it before we can. But that'll be following shortly thereafter. It's an exchange a lot of people use. So if you're watching this and you want to get involved, you might be able to use that exchange. If not, setting up an account with that exchange should be doable. Um, and then yeah, it's going to probably be a hyper volatile couple weeks at the start. Now, one thing I will say is that we have, because of our early investors, so we were well capitalized. We have raised 9 million to date. The seed round was in 2022. The private kind of our follow round was in 2023. Those seed and private investors have a much longer than average what's called a lock invest on those tokens. So the the concern of a big percentage of these early investors having an unlock at TGE, we wanted to avoid that. So our seed and private investors do not have any tokens unlocking at TGE or at the public launch. The private tokens from the second round are cliffed. They're locked for 6 months, and the seed round is actually locked for 12 months from the public launch. So there are tokens in our kind of KOL, key opinion leader strategic round. That's what Alex that's what Alex got in on. There's 15% of those tokens, and we're very transparent with all these numbers. 15% of those tokens are available at TGE, so that is going to create some of that volatility. We totally expect some of these content creators to take some of that 15% and take some risk off the table. But it's not going to be a situation where we have 15% of 9 million getting unlocked at a 50x or something, and they're just dumping tokens on everybody. Because that's typically what you see when the number goes this way and then all the way back down. And our token is a utility token. I can't recommend it as an investment because it's not one. You should buy it to use it. But the reason that I believe we have a very strong tokenomic model to where the price should be relatively stable is because the buy demand is based around your ability to use it for its utility value. The more GameFi pops off and the more these games are paying out rewards, the ARC token is going to inherently have more value because of what you can capture with one ARC token from that industry that's growing. And so because every time a mission pool concludes, there's buy pressure of our token from those rewards, we have a very constant stream of buy pressure coming back into the token. So yeah, I'll leave it there, answer any questions. But yeah, our sales coming up soon, shortly thereafter exchanges, but really exciting next couple weeks we've got here.
I want to say just two things on this. These are things that audience you have heard me say before, but I think that this is a really good time, and actually Arcade makes for a really good example for the second point. Point one, the presence of hyper volatility on a token launch is not to say that you should just stay away from it. It's just to say you need to be hyper aware of what it is you're doing, right? Over the last couple weeks, Evan and I have been covering a lot of the hyper volatility in the meme coin casino. And I would never say, right, that you should take your 401k money and put it in Harry Potter Sonic 69420 Inu or whatever. But if you can square the mindset with yourself that what you're doing is going to play a slot machine, it can be a fun time, especially when you're, like we do it, up in the middle of the night with your friends in a Discord chat, trying to pick a winner and throwing $10 at the dartboard and seeing what happens, right? Like, because that is the correct mindset to approach the meme coin casino with. With this and with other utilitarian non-meme tokens at launch, you're aware that it's going to be a volatile event because it always is. Because like he said, people like me who have the KOL round, there are other pre-sale investors that are, get their allocations at different times. There are a bunch of competing interests right at the beginning. Plus you've got the speculators who want to toss money in and do the thing, do whatever, take a risk. Just understand that you're taking a risk. It could work out for you. It could not. It is just extra risky. Again, not to say avoid at all costs, just to be hyper aware of what it is you're doing. The second point, one of the things that I am desperate to see change in the crypto landscape is the idea that not every single tokenized anything needs to be looked at as a financial investment where you should purchase it and then feel disappointed if the dollar value equivalent is not the same or greater immediately or in the near future. So as JP pointed out, this is a utilitarian token. So at the end of the day, if you were willing to take a risk on buying Diablo or buying Destiny 2 or buying the new Call of Duty, whatever, you're going to put that money and you have no clue you're taking a risk based on past data, whatever, that maybe I'll really enjoy this game. Maybe it will bring me, laughter, joy, whatever, all that good stuff. This should be really looked at the same way, that what they're proposing is a new platform where you can do a thing. So if you were going to spend $5 on Clash of Clans gems and take a stab at, enhancing your base a little bit or doing whatever, the only thing of value that you can get out of it is not necessarily an increased dollar equivalent to the token you bought. Even if you got some XARC or ARC to move into XARC, and then the price dropped by 15% and you were waiting for it to come back up again, in the meantime, you still have the same number of XARC tokens that you can put into a pool and do a thing with and turn them into more XARC tokens. So think about the purpose of owning a token. And I wouldn't say this applies just to Arcade. I would say that this applies to anything that has a token. This is how we vet projects. You ask yourself, does it actually make sense that I would want to own this token for a reason other than investing? Can I actually do something with it that I give a shit about? Because if the answer is yes, then you're describing demand for a product. If the answer is no, that's a red flag, right? So just keep that in mind. I think this is a cool example because even if the price crapped out on us and was down for a while, you could still take your XARC to the platform and do shit with it and get into a pool and play with friends and do all that good stuff, right? And I think, JP, I'll kick it back to you. The idea here, right, is that the platform shouldn't suffer because the price of the token is down, right? Like utility still works.
Yeah, I mean, all of that for sure. I would say the price of the token going down is a increasingly positive thing for people that have the long-term vision, because not because they can get a lower entry, but because these mission pools, the rewards are pegged, I guess would be the right way to put it. They're pegged to the price at the time of. So what's happening is we're taking $500 of Atlas, we're buying $500 worth of ARC. If the ARC price is lower, you're getting more tokens for that $500. That means that your reward on the platform out of these mission pools is a greater number of tokens. Over time, that could really come back to be beneficial. Like you might even end up getting 10 or 20, 30 times better rewards just by participating in mission pools while the token price was down. Again, we can't speculate on price. We're not really even worried about it, right? Because the utility value of the token is that you're getting exposure to an industry that you otherwise either wouldn't be able to get exposure to, are priced out of, don't have the time for. It's like you're buying a convenience, right? If you look at it that way, like, yes, you might be able to get some value back out of this later. The price of the token might go up. If everyone kind of has that mindset, I think it could. I can't speculate on that, but if you want to really boil it down to cash out, cash in, you're paying money for convenience. You're getting exposure to something you didn't have exposure to before. You're diversifying your exposure to GameFi, and if the number go up, then that's great. But we can't control that personally.
Yeah,
For sure.
Can I
All good
ask
advice.
a quick? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alex.
No, we're good.
No, you're good.
So Tori asked a while back. I have two quick rapid fire questions. The first one is, you mentioned about the seed round in 22 and the follow up in 23, and I think you said you had that information on your website. Do you have like who your partners are and stuff like that, so people can see who the lead VC was, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure we do. Let me just double check what page it's on. I think it's on the About page.
On the About page, I was kind of clicking around, but I figured I'd ask because some
Yeah,
folks like to see that. I think there are probably some folks who are adding to their list who are saying, "Oh, I can't wait to talk to them about my game." And I would
yeah.
say to those people, check out some of the game partners that are launching mission whose games are part of mission pools in the platform. You're talking about Illuvium, you're talking about Big Time, you're talking about Shrapnel, you're talking about Mavia. Big games that you can already play, even though mission pools aren't open yet.
Yeah, so it is on the About page. You can also direct link to it at arcade2earn.io/about. But that's where you can see our roadmap, some information about the core team, and then there's a list of all of our backers. This actually isn't everybody. We had over 100 venture capital investors come in on our rounds because we kept people to smaller tickets. We didn't want anybody to own too much of the pie.
Sure.
But yeah, we have a lot of really great investors. Our seed round was led by Crypto.com. We're backed by KuCoin Labs. We're backed by Solana Ventures. We're backed by Merit Circle, Shima Capital. The list goes on, but a lot of pretty big names in the industry.
Yeah, and I just want to read this because I love it. From the About page, we don't just see ourselves as a company in the GameFi industry, we see ourselves as stewards of its growth. We invite you to join us on this journey where simplicity, accessibility, and inclusivity are the cornerstones of our company ethos. And I see all your partnerships here, just different kinds. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. Super cool. The other question I had was for Tori. Obviously, the market here, like this website, the conversation we're having, is kind of pointed at crypto people. We're talking about tokens, but the way you started this conversation and this mission is very much, I won't call it a psyop, I won't say manipulation, but it's kind of like we've kind of had to do this with gamers, haven't we? This like, let me help you. I'm not gonna use the word NFT. I'm not gonna use the word token up front. You've got these kind of two audiences here, and it seems like they're both really important to you. Am I understanding right, though, that that's kind of your approach, is like you want to onboard all gamers, all people who love games? And I don't think you mentioned it, but can you address, if I've got that right, some of the infrastructure that you're using for this? Are you doing like username, password, custodial wallets, giving people the option to own their own keys, but like how are you navigating
Yeah.
talking about that and like gently bringing them in?
Yeah, so for for the first part, yeah, we are very much a gaming platform first. So while the initial launch is more catered towards Web3 natives, we part of our vision is certainly to be an on-ramp, a bridge from traditional gamers to Web3 gaming to make it easier for them to understand and pick up these things. Part of that mission is evident in providing people with the NFTs they need to play games without the capital investment or the capital expense tied to it. But in terms of kind of the ease of use for the average person, I would say to start, you will need a little bit of crypto native knowledge. Now, we are using a username and password system. We did that for a few different reasons, but you do still need to have the arcade token in a non-custodial wallet like MetaMask. And so you would need to know how to use MetaMask. Um, you link that MetaMask to your profile on our DApp, and that's how you interact with the mission pools. We have some tutorials and guides and stuff up on the website to help walk you through how to do that. But there is that kind of inherent understanding needed. But what we haven't talked about yet is that we're building. I can't talk too much about it because the mission
I'm loving
pools.
all like the sneak peek alpha we're getting here.
The mission pools, as we see them now on the DApp, is kind of what I like to think of as like product number one of a suite of products that's coming. So it was initially kind of the main or the only idea. We've since really expanded our vision to encompass many other things. We're building an esports platform. We're building a creator hub for like spreading education and resources for different games. We're building that catalog that I mentioned earlier. So there will be products in the future that make it possible for there to be a traditional game mission pool as well. You'll be able to see like a Call of Duty mission pool. If you really like traditional games, but you don't want to dabble in Web3 yet, you'll be able to earn money by playing your favorite, Bethesda game or Call of Duty or whatever. So these are things we're building. It's not things that are in on our MVP kind of first iterative launch here, but just know that we have a development roadmap of a little over 2 years already mapped out, where we've got lots of really cool stuff coming. Some of that will be Web2 games. Some of it might even be board games. Who knows? It's just we're a gaming company, so we're doing lots of fun things.
And Kevin said we can also give out JP's phone number to everyone so they can call him for help with onboarding to crypto.
No, that brings up an interesting point I hadn't even thought of, JP, is the idea that obviously you guys could, try to shoehorn some of the Web 2 giants into the party just by running an arcade-funded tournament in anything, really, and, setting up a pool and basically like forcing them to do a Web 3 thing, even though they have no clue what's going on. Because, I mean, I couldn't agree more. This is the reason I'm so bullish on gaming, and I've been talking about it relentlessly for months now, is just that you can't find a point in the history of gaming amongst and between people wherein they didn't demonstrate that they wanted the Web3 thing even before it was a thing. I always think about Evan and I had the privilege to interview William Quigley, CEO, founder of Wax, also Tether, Small Flex. But he was involved in the original creation and launch of Ultima Online, which is, if you are in and around that world, a pretty gargantuan titan of the
And
of
if
the
you're
industry.
not, his partner invented the concept of selling digital items for money in games.
And Ultima really did. I mean, and you see it still with Counter-Strike, right? CS:GO is a huge user of this idea. I mean, RuneScape is a titan of the space, and they shifted their entire in-game model to try to fight players selling things to each other outside the platform because they didn't have the ability to do it on platform. And eventually that hurt them so much that they had to re-enable everything because they never stopped, doing the thing. I could sell my account for a pretty decent bit because of how many 99s there are or whatever it is. I mean, players have been demonstrating for years and years and years, as long as there have been games, that they want to be respected for the thing they put in. So at the end of the day, that's really what we're here to celebrate and actually, attach a value to, so that players can just, I would say, get what they've had coming to them since the dawn of gaming.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, I'm talking to Kevin in the comments, I'm talking to you, JP, in the chat. Getting me all mixed up. Really quick, I want to reset the room because we had someone ask. We were talking with JP. Kevin is in the comments. We are hosting Arcade today, whose website, if you want to play along at home, is arcade-to-earn.io. If you're enjoying this, the easiest, cheapest, most fun way you can support is to follow these guys, sign up for their newsletter, tap the screen to let the algorithm know this is helpful, drop a question below, share it with your nephew Carl, whose only crypto conversation is, hey, you should buy Dogecoin today. We're here Monday through Thursday to answer your questions about blockchain and just help you get a grip on this whole crypto thing without feeling like anybody's going to try and sell you something. JP, Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I thought you were done. I was just going to say that just want to continue to be mindful of JP's time. So JP, please do not hesitate to let us know when you get to the point where you've had enough. I think we're going to get to the wrap up here. If you have any last minute pressing questions, we're going to start tying it up with JP here. Throw in any last minute questions. If you think of something later, you can always get a hold of us. And I am not shy about bothering both of these guys, even though this is one of the busiest weeks of their career coming up.
Yeah, it's a big week.
Yeah.
I will harass them for you. So just let me know. A couple things I wanted to say real quick. If you are, really still on the verge of crypto, right? A lot of the people in our audience have maybe not even taken that first step into getting involved. They're just trying to learn what even is all of this stuff. As we mentioned, and again, want to continue to be upfront, I have a pre-sale allocation. So I'll get some of my tokens coming up. And one of my plans is to try to run some sort of event here on the show with a few of the tokens that I get from these guys and give them away to someone who's interested. So stay tuned for that. Definitely want to make sure that you're getting involved and staying involved. If you have questions, all that good stuff, find us in Discord, yada, yada, yada. Because I'm trying to get more people onto the platform, and I would happily give away a few tokens to do that. And then two, like Evan said, and JP, I'll ask you, what are the best places for people to follow? Where would you like them to go? What should they look at? We'll continue to kind of drop in comments here. The website and Twitter handle is the same as the start of the website, but what would be the best place for them to watch if they want to just make sure they don't miss anything?
Yeah, I would say we're most active on Twitter, Discord, and I don't know that we have a presence here on TikTok. I don't think I have any videos here on yet. But so if you're watching this on TikTok and it's the only place that you like to get your social media, I love TikTok also. I just am not a creator. But I would say probably the easiest place would be to just opt into our newsletter on the website. That's probably the best way for you to stay in the loop. You can go to arcade-to-earn.io. At the bottom or top or multiple places, I think there's a place where you can put your email in. That way we can notify you whenever there is new stuff coming up. We'll probably have something going out this weekend about the launch starting on Tuesday and reviewing some of the timeline and stuff. But and then our Discord community is always a really fun place to hang out and learn about different games, learn about, ask questions about Web3. It's a very welcoming atmosphere. And then in terms of news, probably on Twitter, on X is where we're most active. So if you're on there as well, it's same handle, Arcade to Earn, and mine is the same as well, Mission Pool. I think just following those, you'll be able to stay in the loop.
Sounds good. And then harass Kevin, because apparently he's into it.
Harass Kevin. Yeah.
Alex, I only had a couple, just as we're winding it down, I had a couple rapid fire questions, and I've really talked enough. So I'm glad to, if there are any kind of final areas you want to explore, or JP, if there are asks you have of us, I think I'm doing good. I'm gonna just pepper some quick ones in at the end.
No, take it. I think I'm well met. It's been a lot of fun. I love doing stuff like this. I'm glad that Arcade got to be our first project founder long form interview on the show, because this is a format that Evan and I have wanted to get into more lately. So when you guys were into it, when I pitched it, I was super stoked. So thank you for taking all of this time out of your day, especially given how much
Yeah, are you
shit
guys
you guys
nuts?
have
You got
coming
a big
up.
day?
Yeah, so
It's all right.
I super appreciate it.
We work 24/7 anyway, so it's fine. No, we're having fun with it, and no, this has been really cool. I like that you guys are asking. You're asking. You're not holding back, right? Like I like that not only the people that are interviewing, but the people in the audience. It feels like more of a waste of time when they're just softball questions, right? Like I like to be challenged. I want to put my brain to work and answer some of this. So keep it up.
We're honored to help. Okay, these are soft questions.
All right. Well,
The first one, well, this one might not be so soft.
What is your
Actually.
favorite
For
color?
people who are just hearing about GameFi and they're like, wow, arcade seems like such a cool platform, but I want to explore more. Let me ask you, who are some of your competitors? Who are some of your collaborators that you admire, and some of the companies that are either adjacent or across from you that you are learning from, looking to, competing against, that they could check out?
yeah, great question. So. We've been building for a little over 2 years. When we first started, there really wasn't anything even close to what we were doing. Over time, there has been some others that I don't know that I'd call them competitors, but uh, they're certainly going after a similar demographic of people. So I think in its simplest form, that probably is a competitor. Um, I would say Games.gg is going after similar kind of demographics. Rainmaker Games, what they're building. I would say like the people at Owned, if you're familiar with Unix Gaming and the Owned guys, there's probably some overlap there. I would say that the easiest way to think about it is arcade is really like 4 or 5 different demographics kind of combined together, right? And if you break off any one of those demographics, we have a lot of competitors. What we don't have is one other person that's doing everything that we're doing. Um, so I think we have a little bit of a first mover advantage there. I do think that there will be when they see how successful this is, there will be other competitors that can spin up their own mission pool concept, right? Like this is um, it's brilliant in its simplicity in the sense that it's not that complicated of an idea. Someone could go and build what we have. I mean, obviously our code is proprietary, but someone could take this concept and go build their own version of it. And I fully expect that to happen. But I think competition can be good. But I would say those are probably the main kind of people vying for the same demographic at the moment. But I have yet to see anybody that's building our product yet, though I expect it.
Cool. Uh, I want to know, my final questions are, in terms of gaming, who do you look up to? What is your favorite game? If you could pick one or maybe a couple. And it doesn't have to be, games
Yeah.
online. It could be a tabletop game. It could be tag.
Yeah.
I
No.
don't know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, so I like to think a well-rounded gamer. I like a lot of different genres. I would say for Web3, what I'm really enjoying right now is Heroes of Mavia and Illuvium. Those are 2 games that I'm having a lot of fun with. I think. Oh, and if you have you guys heard of Nyan Heroes? It's kind of a little bit under the radar currently, but
No.
Nyan, it's Nyan. I got a chance to play a demo of that at GDC. I was there last week, and that's looking really cool. Also, it feels really fluid. Um, in terms of like more traditional games, I'm a sucker for like your traditional. Like I used to play competitive Call of Duty, like just super briefly, not like professional, but I played in some tournaments and stuff. Nowadays, I really enjoy, and I think because of how busy I am and I'm on calls all day, now I really enjoy just like sitting down with a single player like story driven game and just like doing my own thing for a little bit. Had a lot of like really enjoyed. I'm playing through Atomic Heart right now. Played through the BioShock series recently. Loved that. The Horizon games I think are really great, and I like to have. I like to play a lot of different things because I get a better appreciation for what types of games I like, and then I can better guide and advise Web3 games. So, I mean, Web3 developers come to me all the time talking about how can I build a better game for in Web3, and it's good for me to have a better idea of what works well in Web2 and how we can kind of do stuff that's similar in Web3. So that would probably be uh, a little bit about it.
Alex, I can't believe you didn't ask him about the conference. I can't believe we didn't ask him. I have
Right.
no context for what that conference is, and Alex is like, it's a big deal.
Yeah, dude. If I'm like driving in the car, I will forego listening to music and I will throw on a GDC lecture instead because some of the pieces that I think are like have been the most integral developmental like evolutions in myself as a game designer have been listening to GDC talks, like especially in the mobile world. The every single person who's going to make a mobile game needs to listen to Ben Brody talk about building Marble Snap because the dude is an absolute genius. And no, I feel we were so focused on arcade. I didn't even ask you. Maybe we can wrap up with you giving us a little bit of a takeaway from GDC.
What's coming in the future of gaming, right?
I've got major GDC FOMO, and the one thing that I saw that really stuck out was the monstrosity that was Avalanche's presence at GDC, which I just think is so awesome.
Yeah, no, GDC was great. Last year there was kind of this resistance to Web3 everything. It was very Web2 gaming focused. Y- You could have convinced me that this year was a Web3 conference, like that it wasn't just gaming. There
Wow.
was so much Web3 presence. The sentiment around it was so much better. We had the AVAX, monstrosity, as it were, that was getting tons of attention. I mean, we had people that wouldn't even bat an eye at Web3 before, people from Meta and Intel and, Epic Games coming over and hanging out with Web3 people. Like, you didn't see that at conferences before.
For context, over the Avalanche booth was this giant rotating banner that just said Web3 gaming sucks. And it had the Avalanche branding all over it. And then they had this just massive area that was.
That's almost as good as God Hates NFTs. I love that.
Yeah, and yeah, it's funny. It was just brilliant marketing on their part because last year the big takeaway for a lot of Web3 companies was everyone was like Web3 gaming sucks, like we don't care about it. And this year they took it by the horns and they were just like we're just gonna put this right up, and it worked. They got so much great attention. People were coming over like, all right, you got us. Like, what are you doing? And there were screens and like playable demos for some really great games in Web3. There that just really brought you in. But yeah, I would say if you weren't able to make it, it's worth the trip next year. It's such a fun time. So many great developers you meet. I met the founders at many great projects that are building games. Made a lot of great connections for arcade. But I would say the overall takeaway is just that the sentiment around Web3 gaming is really starting to kind of come around the corner, and I think it's catching a lot of traction.
What a great banner.
Well, I'm jealous. Major FOMO.
Oh man. Okay. So again, JP, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your attention, everybody here, for your awesome questions. We are absolutely going to put this up. If you missed the start of the conversation, you just want to go back and get the information again on our Facebook. We just made a Facebook. I have to tag so many things. On our YouTube page, it might end up on Facebook too, which is Faceless_Labs. There are a lot of ways to keep up with us. The best way is to go to the riseupmorningshow.com. And you can sign up for the newsletter where we'll have the briefest bullet points and links to all this. You can see the episode on YouTube. And also, we'll make sure to link it in the Discord server, which is there too. We'll get you connected with Arcade, which one more time is arcade2earn.io. JP, you're so gracious. Kevin, you're a monster in the chat. One more time, will you tell us if there's another place they need to go to find you? Give us your links and your call to action one more time, and then we'll take our dog and pony show on the road, man, and let you get out of here. Oh, and let me say too, Kevin had mentioned, could you tag the space that you're doing today if people want to follow up with that? It sounds like you're doing a Twitter space, yeah?
Oh boy, are we, Kevin?
Kevin put it in the comments, and I just scrolled past it, but I'll read it. If you want to continue the conversation, they're going to talk about GDC on Twitter.
Oh right,
at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, no, we do have that. Kevin's going to be mad at me because I did agree to be on that. I just I have so much going on, but yeah, if you go to on Twitter. The username to search for is what is it, Kev? It's build with ACS, I think.
Yes, it's Build with ACS, all spelled out,
Yeah.
at Build with ACS on
Yep.
Twitter,
So
X.
Yep. So 2 p.m. we'll have a space where we'll talk more about GDC and just so every week. This is something that Kevin hosts. Every week we do like a market recap slash what's new in the industry slash recent news type thing. So that's always a super fun conversation. I'd encourage anyone to keep an eye out for that. But the one today we're going to talk about GDC. So yeah, be great for everybody to tune in. But the yeah, I mean, final thoughts would be Twitter, Discord for Arcade. I'm most active on Twitter at Mission Pool. Arcade is Arcade, the number 2 earn on all socials, same as the website. And and then yeah, our newsletter would probably be the last thing that I would opt into if you're really interested in keeping up with developments. Our newsletter on the website would be the place to plug in.
Yeah, and it pops right up as soon as you go to arcade2earn.io. Super quick, super easy to sign up, just like ours. So sign up if you have it.
Awesome.
JP, thank you again.
Thank you. Really nice to meet you, Evan. Alex, always a pleasure. Look forward to chatting with you guys again in the future. And everyone have a great day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Take care, brother. My friends, we are going to be back tomorrow, same time, same place, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, 12 p.m. UTC. Sign up for the newsletter at theriseuppmorningshow.com. Come back with your questions. And man, Alex, wasn't it a killer interview? They rocked.
That was good.
Dude, Kevin, can we hire you
Yep.
as a moderator, man? You were in the chat.
Yeah, Kevin's over here in Telegram apologizing for not being able to TikTok properly, but dude, you crushed it. So thank you so much. That was a huge help. It was honestly, that was so helpful that I think I'm going to push for that in the future, that we have, like, if we can get dual representation on an interview, and I'm going to poach Kevin 100%.
Yeah, 100%,
Kevin, you're hired. To have someone be up here with us answering the long form questions and helping out, and then someone in the chat just rapid firing back with the smaller, easy to answer stuff. That was so helpful. So thank you both for your time. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I said,
good job, Alex.
Stay tuned. We'll keep it covering, and I 100% intend on doing some sort of token thing to celebrate once things get cooking here. So if you are interested in potentially winning a few of the tokens, then stay tuned, and I'll figure out some sort of fun way that we can do it. I'm going to throw some into the prize pool for the Syndicate games this season as well, and then yeah, we'll fucking let her rip.
Send it. You're going to dump them on the market and buy us all lunch.
Damn straight.
I made a typo. We're not back at the same time, same place tomorrow. We are here Monday through Thursday at this time, but tomorrow is Friday.
Tomorrow's Friday.
We're going to keep the tradition going with Rise Up After Dark. Alex, do you want to get together? What did we do last time? Was it 9 Eastern?
Well, see, here's the thing. Last time, Evan and I did our classic time zone blunder, and we really screwed up. So let us commit to shooting for. I mean, do you want to say 5 p.m. Central?
No,
Where do
I
we
don't,
need to-
because I'm getting ready for this. Every year I host this Easter egg hunt for about 400 of my closest friends. And I am tomorrow going to be on the phone with the Easter Bunny, scattering eggs, doing stuff like that, and not having cell service mostly.
What's going to work for you?
Probably, if we could do it a little later, that'd be good for me.
Yeah.
Could we do 7 p.m. Central?
Probably. I will.
8 p.m. Eastern. If that's your dinner time, we could.
No.
We're gonna talk behind the scenes. We're gonna make a video about it, and in our continued effort to reach you at other time slots for people who can't tune in, we'll post a video to say the correct time zone to join. Sound good?
Yeah. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it this time. Mark my words.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jim, for staying up all night. Thanks, Tori, for being the heartbeat of the chat. Thank you, your residents, for the questions. And thank you to all the new listeners, to JP, to Kevin, to Arcade. We love it. We will see you again soon. And until then, my friends, rise up.